Well, hey there, Internet people, and welcome back to Green Wing Gaming. Or welcome if you're new. If this is your first time on the channel, this is a Monday upload, and Mondays on this channel, we like to talk about Warhammer stuff. So, today's topic of conversation, we're going to be continuing our coverage of the Dark Angels in 10th just a little bit longer. Actually, honestly, longer than I had intended to, because I had already intended to jump over to another faction to talk about. But you guys have been giving me some pretty positive feedback, and considering I had to step away from the channel for like 2 weeks while I sorted out some PC stuff and some dental issues, this is my way of saying thanks and just giving you guys a little bit more of what you've been enjoying so far. But today's topic of conversation, we're going to talk about the biggest winner and biggest loser for the Dark Angels in 10th. Which units I think have had the biggest glow up and the biggest nerf compared to previous editions. Now, this is not necessarily saying that these are the lowest performing or best performing units, just the ones that have enjoyed the biggest amount of change. The amount of change is the metric that I'm using for this. So, with all that being said, before we get too deep into the conversation, I would like to get the obligatory self-promo stuff out the way. The channel is still pretty young. We've only been doing this for a couple months now, and anything you guys could do to help the channel grow would genuinely mean the world to me. That means like the usual stuff, liking, commenting, subscribing, you know the drill. I don't want to belabor that too much, but specifically watching all the way to the end, like, I'm gonna try and keep this video shorter than the last couple weeks have been, because I've been hitting the 20-minute mark a lot lately. So to respect your time a little bit more, we're gonna try and keep this one brief. But yeah, so anything you guys could do to help the channel grow would really be tops for me. I would really appreciate it, because the hope is to one day maybe make this what I do full-time. But right now, that's just kind of a dream on the horizon. But anyways, with all that self-promo stuff out the way, we're talking about winners and losers for Dark Angels in 10th. So let's just get into it. Alright, so let's start off with the positive. Let's talk about the biggest winner for the Dark Angels in 10th. Now, this is not necessarily the most competitive unit, because I would argue the most competitive unit is the Deathwing Knights. They were the best unit for the Dark Angels in 9th. I would argue they're still the best unit for the Dark Angels. They're just so damn tanky. They've got, with their 4 wounds, their 4 up in invuln, being toughness 5 and a -1 to incoming damage. And, like, their melee got a little worse, but it's still strength 6 with 3 damage. So, yeah, I'm thinking they're still going to be doing just fine. Yeah, they're still, in my opinion, the backbone of any Dark Angels themed list, with maybe a quick runner up to the Vengeance Speeder. But in terms of the unit that gained the overall most positive change, I gotta give it to the big man himself, Lionel Johnson, the Primarch, the Lord of the First Legion. I don't know if I've mentioned it on the channel, but I was wildly underwhelmed with Lionel Johnson in 9th edition. I did not enjoy the lore behind how they brought him back. I loved the model, I will say that, but I really didn't dig his rules. Because the Lion is meant to be like the supreme general, the ultimate tactician, and his rules in 9th basically amounted to, I smack things with my sword real good. That was the whole thing. That was all he did in 9th, was hit things with his sword a lot. And like on a turn when he deep struck, he could reroll his charge rolls. But you never wanted to deep strike him because he was not particularly tanky, and yeah, he would immediately die. If you were spending that many points on the line, you were keeping him close to your infantry for shielding, and then using him, and there were other ways to give him a reroll charge buff. Just bring along a Deathwing champion, upgrade him to a chapter champion. It was that simple. So the Lion was very underwhelming in 9th, and in 10th, again, I don't necessarily think he's the most competitive choice just because of how expensive he is, but he's a lot better than he was. He's still a hell of a beat stick with his sword, but he now offers out some pretty decent buffs. I'm not going to say that they're amazing buffs, because the more I read them, the more I start to realize they're pretty situational, particularly compared to, like, Abaddon or Gilliman or other characters of that magnitude. But his buffs are not terrible, he's still really killy with his sword. You can still keep him safe, hiding behind infantry. And he's gotten crazy tanky. The fact that he's now toughness 9, he's toughness 9. He's like, I think 10 wounds now. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But more than that, he finally got the 3-up invulnerable he always should have had, and he's now -1 to be wounded. So like, you could literally be hitting this guy with a strength 18 weapon, which I'm not even sure that exists in 40k right now. But if it does, you could hit him with it. You're still wounded on 3s. Most things are going to be wounding him on 4s. Even if you're shooting anti-tank weapons at him. So it's like you're wounding him on 4s. He's got a 3-up invulnerable. Yeah, he's really annoying to deal with. He's really tricky to eliminate from the field. Most small arms fire is going to be wounding him on 6s. It's just really not a good time to be trying to get rid of the line. He sticks around for a while, and he's probably going to be able to get into melee and absolutely wreck whatever he touches. That's not to say there are no counters. If you're playing a particularly speedy army, or if you're just playing an army with, like, Gene Stealer cults right now would probably do a great job of just bogging him down. Just throw your units at him, because, hell, he'll kill them, but you don't care. They're going to resurrect on a 4+ anyway. So Gene Stealer cults don't care about the Lion, but he is still performing way better than he was in 9th. So that's our winner for 9th edition. That's our winner for 10th edition. He has had the biggest glow up, and he's finally at a place where I can feel like, yeah, I actually want to buy this model and add it to my army. Because before that, I was like, yeah, I've already got the 30k model. I'm just going to proxy, because I'm not spending that kind of money for a model that underperforms that much. But now I'm like, oh, I might have to buy that 40k model just because he's actually good now, or at least actually usable now. So that's our biggest winner. I hope if you guys disagree, by all means, tell me who you think was the biggest winner. Let me know in the comments down below. I've emphasized this a bunch. I want the conversation. I want to know what you guys think. If you, whether you're a Dark Angels player or just someone who watches some Dark Angels content, has thoughts on the army, I would love to know what you think. I actually would kind of prefer an outsider's perspective. If you're a lifelong Eldar player, let me know what you think of the Dark Angels units. Which ones are you most afraid of? But as for the biggest loser, if you guys watched my faction focus on the Dark Angels, this might not be a surprise to you. The Black Knights. They're not great, which is a shame because they are like, I don't know if they're my favorite Dark Angels unit, but they're up there. Easily in my top 3 favorite Dark Angels units. Love the Black Knights. I love their lore. I love the models. I just love everything about them, and it really bothers me that they are so garbage in 10th edition. They are so completely useless. The squad sizes got nerfed, their guns got nerfed, their melee is garbage. They don't even have assault weapons, which is just preposterous. Yeah, they lost so much. They can no longer advance and shoot. They lost 2 inches of movement. Their invulnerable got worse if they advance. There's kind of no reason to advance them other than to gain an extra d6 inches, because they even lost turbo boost. They no longer get the auto advancing 6, which, yeah, this was just a massive nerf to bikes in general, but particularly the Black Knights. They just took a massive hit from the nerf hammer, to the point of I don't know how anyone who's a Dark Angels player can justify using them. For how expensive they are, they don't deliver enough shots. The shots are not strong enough. In a game where vehicles are now such high toughness, you can't use them to take on vehicles. Yeah, they've got anti-vehicle 4+ on their melee weapons, but okay, good luck making that work, because that would mean more to me if they had devastating wounds. Whereas, like, oh, on a 4+, I'm just doing mortal wounds. But they don't. They don't have devastating wounds, and moreover, there is no way to give them devastating wounds. There is literally zero way to give Black Knights devastating wounds or sustained hits or anything, because there's one character, Samael, who can join them, and I don't think he hands out sustained hits to the unit. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, if I've got that wrong. But yeah, the one character who can join them doesn't really give them... Yeah, no, all he does is give them advance and charge. Advance, shoot, and charge. Which, yeah, that's something. But it's still, like, it doesn't... They don't get sustained hits. They don't get devastating wounds. They have none of the special rules that they would desperately need to become more of an all-rounder unit. So, yeah, I'm just not really seeing how anyone can justify bringing the Black Knights in 10th. But again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm sure you guys will let me know. Yeah, if there's something that I'm just completely missing out on, by all means, let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, because like right now, none of the generic bike characters are even allowed to join Black Knights. So like literally Samael is the only character who can join them. I'm just like suddenly rapidly going through all possible options in my head. But yeah, I can't think of anything you could possibly do to the Black Knights to make them even remotely worth their points. So they're the biggest loser because they were like an auto include in 8th. They were still really useful in 9th. To the point of now in 10th, they're just like hot garbage. Never use them, never take them. You're better off spending your points on literally anything else. It hurts to say, it's daggers to my heart, but it's what I believe to be true. But let me know what you guys think. Are you using them? Am I completely wrong? You know, I would love to know your thoughts. And seeing as I'm looking at the little timer I've got behind the camera, and we're coming up on where I'd like to about to end this. And we've covered the topic of conversation, so that's going to be where we're wrapping this up. My thoughts on the biggest winners and losers for the Dark Angels. Once again, please do let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But other than that, just a quick reminder to like, comment, subscribe, and a quick thank you for making it this far. I do really appreciate it. I know looking at my ugly mug is not always the easiest thing, so go you for sticking it out this long. But other than that, I should have more, getting back to a more regular upload schedule on Mondays and Fridays. I would love to see you on some of the other videos. I'd love to see you in the comments down below. But in the meantime, happy wargaming.
Onward to glory!